Sir, start. Hello students, welcome to CBC classes. I am Dr. Vaishnavi. I am going to take your classes about animal tissue. So in earlier session we have discussed about epithelial tissue and we have discussed about connective tissue, right? Epithelial tissue types. In our previous classes we have discussed that epithelial tissue is generally present in the lining of the external structures or internal cavities, and the main function of epithelial tissue is for protection and secretion, absorption, because they have glandular tissue also present. Okay, so this is epithelial tissue we have discussed. There are two types of epithelial tissue, as I have told you: simple epithelial tissue and compound epithelial tissue. Simple epithelial tissue consists of squamous cells. Single layer of cells are present in this tissue, like squamous cell tissue, and we have learned about cuboidal epithelium, we have learned about columnar epithelium, and we have learned about brush border columnar or cuboidal epithelium, and ciliated cuboidal or columnar epithelium. Similarly, glandular epithelium also we have learnt. They are single layered of cells. Now coming to compound, there are multiple layers of cells, and the main function of compound epithelium was, yes, you are right, for protection. Yeah, we have discussed about epithelial tissue and where it is located and what is the function of the epithelial tissue in our previous classes, and we have discussed about connective tissue as well. So we are done with epithelial tissue and we have started with connective tissue. Here we have completed loose connective tissue and dense connective tissue. Loose connective tissue examples: areolar tissue, adipose tissue. And what about dense? Dense connective tissue has white fibrous connective tissue and yellow fibrous connective tissue, right? What about white fibrous connective tissue? It is made up of less amount of matrix, and it consists collagen fibers. These collagen fibers are made up of collagen protein, most abundant protein in animal kingdom. Now we have also learned about yellow fibers. Yellow fibers are made up of elastin protein. Okay, the elastin color is what it is called as yellow fibers. So we have learned about white fibrous tissue and yellow fibrous tissue, and examples of yellow fibrous tissue. Yes, tendons. Tendons are the one which connect muscle to the bone. Okay, so remember, this is a very important question, students. Tendons are the one which connect muscles to the bone. And what about ligaments? Ligaments are yellow fibrous tissue which connects bone to bone. So ligaments are present wherever there are joints. If you see, this is a wrist joint, this is a wrist joint, this is a elbow joint, shoulder joint. We have ligaments that are present between the bones. Okay, so we have learned about epithelial and connective. Now one more connective tissue that we are going to discuss in this class is specialized connective tissue. Specialized connective tissue consists of two further parts, that is skeletal and blood. Okay, so we are going to discuss about blood and skeletal components today, and we are going to discuss about muscular tissue, types of muscular tissue, and we are going to discuss about nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is present in central nervous system, that is brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system. So we are going to learn about muscular tissue, nervous tissue, and specialized connective tissue, that is skeletal and blood. So let us take the topic skeletal tissue. So skeletal tissue is a specialized connective tissue. Remember this is very important. Skeletal connective tissue. Okay, so the very first part of skeletal, the skeletal framework of the body, is done by majoritarily bones. We are able to stand because of, or we are able to do some, or we have a structure or shape of the organism is because of bones. Okay, now these bones are having very hard matrix. Matrix is very hard. Why the matrix is very hard? Because it consists of various kinds of salts like calcium carbonate, 60 to 70% of the matrix is made up of calcium carbonate. Similarly, calcium phosphate and many other minerals are present. Okay, similar minerals are present, phosphorus, calcium, carbonate, all these are present in the matrix. As a result, matrix is very hard. Okay, other than that, they have protein. The bone have protein or seam. Okay, they have cells which are called as osteoblast cells. These are the one which lay the matrix. Okay, so osteoblast cells are present in these matrix, protein osine is present in the matrix, and calcium carbonate and calcium phosphate. So this is the reason every day we have to drink milk or we have to eat calcium contained sourced vegetables or eggs. Okay, why? Because this calcium is required for the strength of the bones. The deficiency of calcium can cause various kinds of disorder. Mainly you must have learned in your earlier classes about rickets, right? Rickets is due to deficiency of calcium or vitamin D, right? So vitamin D is required for the absorption of the calcium. Okay, so if vitamin D is not present or we are not getting enough vitamin D, what happens? The calcium is not absorbed. As a result, our bones will be more porous. The condition like osteoporosis that are developed because of deficiency of calcium or vitamin D. Okay, now so these are the present. Okay, so what is the structure of the bones? If you see, we have long bones, we have very small bones in the body which are forming the framework of the organism, right? Now these bones, as I have told you, they contain calcium carbonate, calcium phosphate, osine and osteoblast cells. Now we are going to learn about the structure. In the transverse structure, if you see, we have Haversian canal, and along the Haversian canal, what happens? There is a, in concentric rings, the matrix is present in the concentric rings. Okay, so they are present in the lamellar form. This is called as lamella. Okay, so the matrix which is present in the bones are present in a concentric form or lamellar form. Okay, so this is Haversian canals, and in between this matrix the cells are present. These cells are osteoblast cells. These cells are osteoblast cells, and this matrix consists of calcium carbonate, as I have told you earlier also, and protein osine, and many other minerals are present in this bone. So this particular is Haversian canal. If you see the lateral structure of the bone, So because of some technical issue, I think you have skipped the audio. Okay, let me again explain about skeletal tissue. We have discussed about bone, okay, but again I'm repeating, the bone is having a thick matrix or hard matrix. Why it has a hard matrix? Because it consists of calcium carbonate. 60 to 70% of calcium carbonate mineral is present in the matrix. As a result, the bones are very stiff and strong. Now it also consists of calcium phosphate. Okay, these minerals are present: phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, all these minerals are present. The concentration of the calcium is very high. As a result, the matrix of the bone is very hard. Now it also consists of cells like osteoblast cells. Osteoblast cells are the one which form the bone matrix, and protein that is present in the bones are awesome, right? That we have discussed, and we have seen the bone structure which consists of bone marrow. Okay, this bone marrow consists of blood vessels. Okay, they consist of blood vessels and nerve supply. As a result, bones or osteoblast cells are getting enough nutrition to grow. Okay, that's what we have learnt. Now we are going to learn about cartilage. Okay, cartilage is more flexible or elastic as compared to the bone, right? Now this cartilage is flexible because its matrix consists more of fibers than minerals. This is the difference between cartilage and bone, right? It consists of fibers. It also consists of chondroblast cells. Okay, as I have told you already, they consist of chondroblast cells which lay the matrix of the cartilage. Okay, now they also consist of protein, chondrin. Okay, this causes the flexibility. This provides the flexibility to the cartilage. So basically the cartilage is present at the tip of the nose, outer part of the ear, joints. The joints are well protected. The ends of the joints are well protected with the covering that is called as cartilage. Okay, so this cartilage gives cushioning like structure. They are present between the joints. They are present on the tip of the nose. The tip of the nose is moved from here to here. It is flexible, right? And the ears and the cartilage rings are present on the trachea. Okay, they are present on the trachea as C-shaped rings. Okay, you can feel by touching them. And larynx, okay, sound box, which is present just below the pharynx, is also made up of cartilage, right? So we have discussed about bone, we have discussed about cartilage. Now I am going to discuss about the fluid connective tissue, that is blood. The blood is consisting of two components. The components of the blood, so here the heading will be components of blood, will be plasma and cellular component. Okay, the blood, the liquid part is called as plasma. The plasma is made up of, the concentration of the plasma is 55%. As a result, the blood appears to be viscous, okay, viscous fluid. Now 55% of the blood is plasma, which majorly consists of water. 90 to 92% of H2O. Okay, they also consist of proteins. We have discussed earlier, like albumin, globulin and fibrinogen. Okay, now they also have minerals, enzymes, okay, glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, Okay, Fa, which means fatty acids, AA, here I am mentioning about amino acids. So the plasma, the composition of the plasma is majorly water, and remaining are the proteins, enzymes, minerals, amino acids, or we also have clotting factors, CLOTTING, clotting factors. Okay, these clotting factors are helpful for clot formation. Whenever there is a blood flow, whenever there is a rupture of the skin, what happens? The blood is seen. To stop the blood flow, the clotting factors, they form a mesh-like structure and prevent the flow of blood towards outside. Right? So this is the concentration of the plasma, and now we are going to learn about cellular components. Okay, cellular components. Cellular components majorly consist of RBCs, which are called as red blood capsules or red blood cells, also called as erythrocytes. And what is the function of the erythrocytes? They carry the oxygen. Okay, they carry oxygen to different body parts. They consist of hemoglobin pigment. Hemoglobin pigment. This is a very important pigment. Why? Because it is the one which binds with the oxygen. So RBCs are able to carry oxygen because of this pigment. This pigment is red in color. As a result, RBCs or our blood appears red in color. Right? Now RBCs, the function of the RBCs is carrying of oxygen. They don't have nucleus. As a result, they appear to be biconcave. Here you can see the upper surface doesn't have nucleus and lower surface doesn't have nucleus, so it have depression, biconcave. Bi, which means two surfaces, have concave structures. This upper top surface and lower bottom surface. Okay, biconcave structure. Okay, so this is biconcave structures. The main function of RBCs is to carry oxygen. Now we have learnt about another component of cellular components, that is we have discussed about WBCs. Right? WBCs are white blood cells or white blood capsules. They don't have hemoglobin pigment. As a result, they appear to be white in color. White blood cells. Okay, they don't have hemoglobin pigment, but they have nucleus. They have nucleus. Okay, they don't have hemoglobin, but they have nucleus. Okay, as a result, and what is the function? The main function of the WBCs is providing immunity, what we call, or they are called as warrior of body, or they kill, or phagocytosis of foreign elements that are entering the body. These foreign elements can be bacteria, virus, protozoa, worm, okay, any such which are entering the body. What happens? They kill those foreign substances. Okay, so this is the WBC's role. They mainly involve in phagocytosis. They engulf the foreign substances. Now after this, we have learnt about platelets, as I have given you example also for the platelets. In RBCs, if the breakdown of the RBCs happens, if the breakdown of the blood vessel happens, rupture of blood vessels because of injury or external injury or internal injury, what happens? The blood flow don't stop, continuously it bleeds. After some time it stops. How this is happening? Because here a mesh-like structure is formed. This is formed by fibrinogen, and cells are trapped in between. These are platelets. Okay, so they are basically forming platelets plus fibrinogen plus clotting factors, which means the factors which are required for clot. Okay, clotting factors. And what else? Vitamin K. Vitamin K. All these are required for the formation of the clot. You can see clot on your skin also whenever you fall down or whenever you have an injury, right? So this is the role of platelets, which are called as thrombocytes. Platelets are called as thrombocytes. So we have learned about specialized connective tissue. Now we are going to learn about muscular tissue. The muscular tissue, the voluntary and involuntary actions that are done by muscular tissue. Voluntary actions, which means the actions which are controlled by us, is called as voluntary actions, and the actions which are not controlled by us is called as involuntary actions. For example, the food is entering from esophagus to the stomach, stomach to the intestine. How this is happening? Because this is happening because of involuntary action or peristalsis, which is not under our control. When you blink your eyes, blinking of eyes is also involuntary action. Okay, voluntary action, I want to move from one place to other. So for this action, I'm moving my legs. For closing of my wrist, I'm moving my fingers. So this kind of action is called as voluntary actions. So muscles are the one which cause, muscular tissue is the one which cause movement. Now this muscular tissue is made up of muscle cells. Rather than muscle cells, we call it as muscle fibers because they are long, thin, fiber-like structures, so they are called as muscle fibers. They are classified into three types: striated, okay, which is also called as skeletal. Second one is smooth, and third one is cardiac. Okay. So skeletal muscles or striated muscles, these are voluntary muscles which are attached to the bones, okay, which are attached to the bones. So these muscles which are attached to the bones with the help of tendons are called as skeletal muscles. Now these striated muscles, striations are present, light band, dark band. If you see these type of muscles, they have light and dark bands. That is the reason they are called as striations. Like zebra, if you see zebra, they have white and black bands, right? Similarly, these muscles also have light color bands, dark bands. Light color bands, in electron microscope you can see these bands, okay? So that is the reason they are called as striated muscles or skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles, the reason is they are attached to the bones and they are causing voluntary action. Now smooth muscles or non-striated, which means they don't have striations, light or dark band is absent. Non-striated muscles, okay, they control involuntary actions like peristalsis, blinking of eye. Now coming to cardiac muscles, they are present on the heart. So heart is pumping because of these cardiac muscles. Okay, so striation, smooth muscle, non-striation and cardiac muscle, let us discuss about detail. Striated muscles are called as skeletal muscles. So here we can see the skeletal muscles or striated muscles. Okay, these are long cylindrical muscle fibers. Okay, they are long, cylindrical. The shape of the muscle is like cylinder. Okay, they are multinucleated. They have multiple nucleus. They are multinucleated. Unbranched, they don't have branches. What else you can see? They have light and dark bands. They have light and dark bands. As a result, the muscles are called as striated muscle fibers. And what is the role? Voluntary actions. They are attached to the bones. They are attached to the bones. That is the reason they are called as skeletal muscles. Why? Because these muscles are attached to the bones through tendons. They cause the movement of the bones. These muscles contract and relax. If you see, when I am flexing my arm, what is happening? The bicuspid muscles are contracting and the tricuspid muscles are relaxing. When I am doing this set of muscle, bicuspid, two muscles are present, okay? These two muscles are contracting and this muscle is relaxing. Now when I am stretching my hand like this, the tricuspid muscle is contracting and the bicuspid muscle is relaxing. So contraction and relaxation is bringing the movement. So they are striated muscles or skeletal muscles, or they are having voluntary actions. So whenever I want to move my arms or legs or fingers, I can do because of the voluntary action. Now coming to the another type of muscle, that is non-striated, which means they don't have color, light and dark bands, okay, or they are also called as smooth muscles. They are also called as smooth muscles. These are spindle shaped cells. Basically they are spindle shaped cells. Okay, they are spindle shaped cells. Okay, they are formed of spindle shaped cells, which means at the ends the part is narrow and the center it is broader. So this is called as spindle shaped cells. They are uninucleated. They have only one nucleus. They don't have branches. Branches are absent. Okay, they don't have striations. Light band and dark band are absent. Okay, and where exactly they are present? They are present in the lining of the stomach, esophagus, foot pipe, intestine. Okay, so stomach movement or foot pipe movement, esophagus movement or intestinal movements are not controlled by us. So this kind of function is involuntary, which is directly controlled by spinal cord and brain without our own grip on it. Okay, so the stomach or foot pipe or intestine, they have involuntary function. Now coming to the other type of muscle, that is cardiac. Cardiac muscles have similarities to both smooth muscles and skeletal muscles. How? They are also long and cylindrical, similar to the skeletal muscles. They are multinucleated. They have striations, light band and dark bands are present. But they are branches. They are having branches. One spindle fiber is connected to another spindle fiber through branches. So these are called as brancher or interdisc structures. Okay, so in your content the images of the cardiac muscles and the skeletal muscle is exchanged, so please correct it over there. The branches are present in the cardiac muscle, not in the skeletal muscles. Okay, just change the names of the skeletal and cardiac muscles in the picture that is given in the content, in the CBC content. Okay, so they have striations. Now what is the action? The action is not voluntary, it is involuntary action, which is similar to the smooth muscles. Okay, so they are not under our control. The heart is beating continuously, the heart is pumping, it is contracting and relaxing. The contraction and relaxation is due to cardiac muscles. Okay, so the pumping of the heart is because of cardiac muscles. The cardiac muscles are continuously contracting and relaxing. Okay, so for skeletal and like non-striated or smooth muscles, they have relaxation period, but cardiac muscle doesn't have relaxation period. They continuously contract and relax so that they can bring the lubbed up movements or lubbed up sounds or heart movements. So this cardiac muscle stops when a person is dead. Till then the heart continuously pumps blood to different body parts. Okay, so this is cardiac muscle. So we have learned about three types of muscles. We have learned about specialized connective tissue, and we are going to learn about neuron, nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is a specialized tissue which perceives sensory impulse and which revert back to the stimulus. Okay, so this is done by nervous tissue, and this nervous tissue is formed by nerve cells, or also called as neuron. Okay, so nerve cells and neurons are are specialized cells which carry stimulus from external environment to internal environment, and then from internal to external, the response. Okay, this is called as nervous tissue. Now where exactly the nervous tissue is present? Central nervous system, CNS, and peripheral nervous system. So central nervous system and peripheral nervous system are made up of nerve tissue, nerve cells. Okay, so central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system, these are the neurons or nerve fibers which are connecting external environment or sensory organs to the brain and spinal cord. This is peripheral nervous system. About this we are going to learn in our next classes. But before that, let us learn about the structure of the nerve cell. The general structure, if you see the structure of the nerve cell, you must have learnt in your earlier classes also. They have a cell body. Okay, a cell body is present. Okay, a cell body is present, and cell body consists of cytoplasm and centrally nucleus. The extension of the cytoplasm into long thread-like structure, this is called as axon. Single long cytoplasmic extension, and at the ends they are divided into further parts, further branches. Okay, these branches are called as axon. Axon termination. This complete structure is called as axon, and this is axon termination. So this is the cell body, this is the axon. Okay, now the cell body can also have multiple branching, okay, multiple extinctions, which are called as dendrites. Okay, for initially they form dendron, then these are dendrites. These are dendron. Okay, dendron and dendrites. A single cytoplasmic extension is called as axon. Remaining these erupting directly from the cyton, the cell body, is called as dendrites, and axon terminal. So this is a typical structure of the nerve. And if you see, the axon sometimes are covered by some kind of sheath. Okay, some kind of cells are present. Okay, they are consisting of Schwann cells which form myelin layer. Okay, which prevents or insulation of the nerve, because which prevents the leakage. Okay, wherever the myelin sheath is absent, they are called as nodes of Ranvier. Nodes of Ranvier, wherever the myelin sheath is absent. So this is myelin sheath, and some cells are present. The myelin sheath is formed by Schwann cells. Schwann cells are present on the axon, which form the myelin sheath. So this basically is a myelin sheath. If myelin sheath is present, then they are having a white color. The axon has white color. If myelin sheath is absent, the axon has grey color. Okay, this is how we got white matter, grey matter in the brain or spinal cord. So this is the typical structure of the nerve cells. Now, the nerve cells have different functions. If you see, this nerve cells receives information from the axons. Okay, receives information from the axons. These dendrites receives information from the dendrites. These dendrites are present on the skin, on the glands, okay, or in different body parts. So they are inserted in the epithelial, in the connective tissue. The nerve dendrites are present in the connective tissue, right? Now the cell body and the axon is extending, and they have terminization of the axons, and here another nerve cell is present. So these axons basically they transfer the information to the other nerve cells, and who is receiving? Dendrites are the one which are receiving, and the impulse is carried towards the axon, terminals, and it is reaching to the other nerve cell. So the junction between the axon and other nerve cell is called as synapse. So here we have another cell, nerve cell, with dendritic extension. Okay. So these dendrites are forming junction with the axon. How they are forming junction? Let us see. If first suppose if I magnify that picture, this is the axon and this will be the dendrite. Okay. The axon will transfer impulse in the form of neurotransmitters. These can be vesicles containing acetylcholine, ACH, which means acetylcholine, or adrenaline or noradrenaline. Okay, so these are the neurotransmitters that are transferred from axon ending to dendrite. Then again this impulse is carried by another nerve to the brain. This is how the neural connection is present. This is what we call as peripheral nervous system. So this junction between axon and dendrite is called as synapse. Okay, the synapse complex is also formed between nerve ending and muscle also. Nerve to nerve junction is also a synapse, or nerve to muscle junction is also a synapse. Okay, now we are going to learn about types of neuron. Types of neuron according to the function. Okay, sensory neurons. First we have sensory neurons. These neurons are basically, let me take the image over here, small image. Okay, so these are the neurons, small neurons. They are interconnected with each other, as I have told you earlier also. And terminization. Okay, so these neurons are generally present in the sensory organs. What are the sensory organs that we have? We have 5 sensory organs, that is eyes, ears for hearing, third nose, olfactory, fourth taste, gustatory, and fifth one is touch, skin. So through these 5 senses we can feel heat, we can feel touch, we can feel cold, we can feel pressure, okay, we can feel pain. All this because of these 5 senses we have: eyes, nose, ears, taste, and skin touch. Okay, so this sensory organs consist of sensory neurons. So here if we have eyeball, the retina of the eyeball is connected to the sensory neurons. So whatever you see, the image is falling on the retina, and through there the sensory nerves are carrying the image in the form of impulse to the brain, central nervous system, or spinal cord, to the brain or spinal cord. And what does brain and spinal cord do? It will respond. This response is done by motor neuron. Now we have motor neuron. First suppose you saw a lion in front of you. What you will do? What is your brain reaction? You are seeing the lion with the help of eyes, and eyes consist of sensory neurons. They will send a image or impulse to the brain. Now this brain process this image of lion, and what does it do? It will provide a response. Response is provided by motor neurons. Motor neurons. So motor neurons So this is dendrite. These are dendrites that are present in the brain or spinal cord, and they have axons. Okay, again there is another nerve, okay, which are having dendrites, and this nerve is called as motor neuron. Motor neuron is the one which carries stimulus away from the brain, and sensory neuron carries the impulse towards the brain, away from the brain towards the brain. Okay, here the motor neuron are attached to the respective muscles. For suppose when you see a lion, what you will do? You will start running. So how you are going to run? Because your leg muscles are getting information from motor neurons. So leg muscles are getting information from motor neurons to run, to contract and relax. As a result, you will run with a speed. Okay, so motor response, motor neuron is a response from the brain, and the sensory neuron is the sending signals to the brain or spinal cord. So these are the sensory neuron and motor neuron. Now coming to interneurons, which are connecting structures, basically, which are connecting structures that are present between sensory neuron. The third type of neuron is interneuron. Interneurons are present in brain or spinal cord. They are present within the brain or spinal cord. Okay, first suppose, let me take the structure of the brain over here. Okay, now these interneurons, okay, they have connection with the axon and axon endings of sensory neuron. These sensory neurons have dendrites. Okay, the sensory neuron is giving impulse to the brain, and these interneuron are sending the impulse to the, these are the dendrites. They are taking, the dendrites is taking the information and it is sending to the muscle, right? So from eyes, the impulse is going to the sensory neuron, from sensory neuron to the interneuron that is present in the brain or spinal cord, from there to dendrites of the motor neuron. So this is how the neurons are divided into three parts: interneuron, sensory neuron, okay, sensory neuron. Here the first one is sensory neuron, second was interneuron, and third one will be motor neuron. So this small structure that is present between axons of the sensory neuron and dendrites of the motor neuron, it is called as, yes, interneurons. So there are three types of neurons according to the function. Now we are going to learn about types of neuron on the basis of structure. We have divided the neurons on the basis of function. Now we are learning about structure. Structure, very simple: unipolar, bipolar, pseudo-unipolar, and coming to the fourth one, multipolar, which means according to the structure, okay, if they have only one cytoplasmic extension, one branch, then it is called as unipolar. Okay, one cell body and one axon is present, that is unipolar. Coming to the bipolar, cell body is present, one side there is an axon and another side also there is an axon. Okay, two structures are present, then it is called as bipolar. Unipolars are present in the embryonic stages, in the development of embryonic stages, or fetus have unipolar, more number of unipolars. Later these unipolars are converted into multipolars. Okay, now bipolar, these bipolar are present in eyes, retina consists of bipolar. Now coming to pseudo-unipolar, they are very interesting. Okay, they have one cell body but one cytoplasmic extension, but this cytoplasmic extension is divided into two branches. Okay, one cell body but one extension also, one cytoplasmic extension, but this extension has divided into two branches. Okay, so they are forming a pseudo structure, a false structure, and they are present in ganglionic cell. And most of the sensory neurons are pseudo unipolar. Now coming to multipolar. Multipolar, you have already learned the typical structure. The cell body is present, multiple branches, dendrites are present, and they have axon is also present. So this type of construct where dendrites, multiple branches are present on the both side, it is called as multipolar, which is prominently present in peripheral nervous system or motor neurons. So they are types of neurons. Now we have learned about unipolar, bipolar, pseudo-unipolar, we have learned about multipolar. Now we are going to learn about another structure, another tissue, neuroglia. Basically neuroglia, it provides nutrition. They are present surrounding the nervous tissue. If you see, this is the nervous cell I was talking about. Okay, nervous cells, they have dendrites, they have axons. Okay, surrounding these, they have tissues, okay, or cells that are present, which are closely present, which are basically protecting the nerve cells or nerve tissue, as well as they are providing nutrition to the nerve cells. Okay, they are protecting and they are providing nutrition to the nerve cells. Nerve cells are further also classified into two types because of myelin sheath. The starting of the chapter I have explained about myelin sheath, which is formed by Schwann cells. Exactly. So this is a typical structure, axon termination. Okay, if myelin is present, the nerve fibers appears to be white in color. Okay, then they are called as myelinated or medulated. In your books it is written as medulated nerve fibers. It can also be called as myelinated nerve fibers. What is the function of myelin? This prevents the leakage. As the stimulus is going from dendrites to the axon, it prevents the leakage of stimuli. Okay, now coming to the other form, that is non-myelinated or you can say it as non-medulated, which means the nerve fibers doesn't have myelin sheath, which appears gray in color. Okay, they have axon termination. They don't have Schwann cells, they don't have myelin sheath. The axon is naked. The white matter, the brain consists of two types of matter, white matter and grey matter. White matter consists of myelinated or medulated nerve fibers, whereas grey matter consists of non-myelinated or non-medulated nerve fibers. Okay, so this is about nerve cells or nervous tissue we have discussed. So here we have completed animal tissue, 4 types, that is epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue. We have learned about nervous tissue. In tomorrow's session we are going to discuss some questions that are related to these nervous tissue and muscular tissue. Okay, so this is it. Thank you so much. I am Dr. Vaishnavi. I am completing this session of animal tissue. Tomorrow we are going to discuss about these questions.